Hello and a very warm welcome to this explainer. Before we really get stuck in, just cast your eye over the banner running at the bottom for Academic Zenith Online Academy. Admissions are currently open. Make sure you contact us now to book your free demo class, and you can actually avail a brilliant 30% discount on absolutely any course. Right, let's get into mastering active learning, shifting ourselves from that dreadful illusion of competence to genuine, rock-solid long-term retention.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever sat down, stared endlessly at a textbook, felt completely and utterly confident during your revision, but then the second you sit down for the actual exam, you just completely blank? It's a universally frustrating experience, isn't it? Well, today we are going to uncover exactly why that happens to the best of us.
The absolute core of the problem is something cognitive psychologists call the fluency illusion. Basically, this is when familiar material feels mastered simply because you've been passively exposed to it over and over again. When you sit there endlessly rereading your notes, your brain recognizes the words on the page, right? And that creates a highly deceptive feeling of mastery. We so often confuse mere familiarity with actual deep understanding.
So for this snappy 5-minute explainer, here is our cognitive map. We'll be looking at the fluency illusion, desirable difficulties, the Feynman technique, the power of retrieval, and finally, active learning and practice.
Let's start with Section 1, the fluency illusion and passive studying.
And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute danger of treating learning as a passive activity where information just sort of washes over you. Think about passive learning, your standard rereading and highlighting, versus active learning, which is your self-testing and blank page recall. We absolutely must frame learning as building a muscle rather than just absorbing information like a sponge.
Moving swiftly on to Section 2, Desirable Difficulties and Why Harder is Actually Better. Cognitive scientist Robert Bjork's research reveals a truly fascinating truth. Learning actually should feel like a bit of a struggle. He outlines 5 principles for creating these desirable difficulties: spacing, interleaving, testing, variation, and less feedback. By deliberately introducing these manageable challenges, you literally force your brain to work harder, and that is what encodes the information deeply for the long term.
Learners remember more when the work takes effort. This quote from Robert Bjork is absolutely essential to keep in mind. If your revision feels difficult and mentally taxing, you know what? You aren't failing. You are actually doing it exactly right.
Section 3, the Feynman technique, teaching to learn.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a highly practical toolkit named after the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman. It's a remarkably straightforward 4-step algorithm. Step 1, choose a concept. Step 2, teach it simply, literally as if you were explaining it to a child. Step 3, identify the gaps in your own knowledge. And Step 4, review your source material and simplify it even further. The crucial takeaway here is that if you can't explain it to an absolute beginner, you just don't truly understand it yet. For our first concrete example, let's look at STEM courses. Students can apply the Feynman technique to master incredibly difficult subjects by taking complex physics equations or intricate biological processes and breaking them down entirely into layman's terms, all without ever glancing at the textbook.
Which brings us to Section 4, the power of retrieval, testing as learning.
This introduces what's known as the testing effect. The key thing to grasp here is that pulling information from your memory is an active learning event in itself, not just a way to assess what you know. For our second example, think about language learning. Instead of just reading through a vocabulary list, active recall means translating those words strictly from memory. It means actively applying grammar rules to construct brand new sentences on the fly, which really strengthens those linguistic patterns in the brain.
And finally, Section 5, Active Learning and Practice, Classroom Strategies. Let's pivot slightly to how educators can actually implement these cognitive theories using research-backed strategies from the UCLA Teaching and Learning Center. Now, what's really interesting about this is how beautifully practical it is as a cheat sheet for scaling active learning. Look at how incredibly manageable the prep times are for really effective strategies like think, pair, share, polling, and the jigsaw method. To break one of those down, here is our third example. Think, pair, share. The way it works is students first think of a response completely individually. Then they discuss it with a partner, and finally, they share it with a wider class. It's a highly versatile method that requires literally just minutes to prep, yet it promotes higher-level thinking and peer-to-peer instruction wonderfully.
As we wrap up, just a quick reminder to check out that Academic Zenith Online Academy banner below. Admissions are open, so contact us now for your free demo class and that brilliant 30% discount. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I want to conclude with this rather provocative challenge for you. Can you explain the Feynman technique in 2 minutes, as if you were talking to a 12-year-old? Go on, give it a go right after we finish here. Happy learning, everyone.